Sony users, this one's for you. Today, we're going to be talking about the WEC-S Kit 2 from Godox. As the name implies, I said Kit 2, which means that there is a Kit 1 or a previous model or a previous generation or whatever it may be, and you're probably right if that's what you were thinking, because this technically is the second version of the WEC model. The original WEC model is more traditional. It still features the same two transmitters. However, the receiver is more contemporary, more old school, where you put it on your shoe mount, you plug a 3.5mm cable into it, and you call it a day. Boom, now you have audio. This one is different because it is specifically made for Sony camera users, in being so that it uses the Mi Hotshoe mount on top of most modern Sony cameras. Now, a little bit of backstory on what that mount is. It allows your receiver or your flash or whatever device it may be to transmit through some pins that are on the top of the camera. And in this case, you can connect the receiver for this microphone directly to it, eliminating the need for any cables. Now, before I get too far into this video, I do want to say there's a quick disclaimer. Godox was nice enough to send this microphone out to me for the sake of this review. All of the opinions and comments in this video are that of my own. Godox does not get to see this video before it goes live, so they have no input. They don't get to see anything. So with that, thank you guys at Godox so much. And anyways, let's jump right back into the video. Now, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by myself, is this microphone is actually really cool because it uses the Mi Shoe interface. And that Mi Shoe interface means that you have a hassle-free, cable-free setup now. So essentially all you have to do is take this microphone right out of the box, plug it into your camera, provided that it's charged, and record. That's it. No cables, no fuss. That's it. Super simple. And I know you're probably thinking, wow, that sounds like a gimmick. It's actually not. There are other microphones on the market that you probably have heard of. Like, for example, the DJI Mic 2 uses a additional accessory that you have to buy separate, which neither here nor there. We can talk about that in another video, but this microphone in particular includes it right out of the box. So that's it. That's super simple. I wish that we could just call the video right there, but I feel like you guys probably want to know a little bit more. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Actually, quickly redirecting, I do want to also mention that technically, I keep saying that this is only for Sony users. That is not the case. Any user can use this, so whether you have a Canon, a Nikon, a Fuji, whatever it may be, you can still use this microphone. However, you're going to have to go a little bit more traditional, and you're going to have to use either a 3.5mm cable or a USB-C or whatever it may be to connect it to your camera. It uses the same shoe mount on every camera. That is universal. However, you won't be able to use the little digital Mi mount because you don't have a Sony. Can't help you there. As you probably saw in the thumbnail of this video, this microphone is only $139 from Amazon or B&H or Adorama. You pick your favorite retailer, they probably have it. This microphone is absolutely exceptional when it comes to value for what you're getting because it has so many different features. And we've already talked about the first one, and we're going to jump into the second one in just a little bit. I promise you're going to have a little bit of faith in me. If you do want to pick this microphone up for yourself, I am going to put a link in the description for you guys. It is an affiliate link, which does go to supporting this channel, as well as the Llama Fund, which we haven't talked about in a while. If you were to purchase this microphone for $139, inside of the package, you actually get a premium feeling carrying case, which is unlike some of the other microphones on the market in this price point. Now, this is the same exact case that I also showed off in the Godox Magic X-T1 review, which I have linked above if you guys want to check that out. This is the same carry case. I'm willing to bet you that Godox invested a lot of time and money to figure this out, and they want to make use of that, so they're probably going to put all of their microphones in these cases, which I am not against by any means. Personally speaking, I really love this opposed to the flimsy, cheap bags that other companies use, so personally, +1 to Godox on this one. Inside of the case, there's a pouch on the top side that is a mesh material. This is where you can hold all of your accessories. So for example, you can put your media cables here, your charging cable, as well as your 3 furry dead cats. Now, I did say 3, and don't get me twisted, we will talk about that in a little bit, so maybe that was a little bit of a spoiler, but neither here nor there. Anyways, let's keep going. Beneath the divider flap is where you'll actually see the charging case. Now, this charging case is very similar to everything else that we've seen up until this point, and it's very premium feeling. It is a nice hard plastic. On the backside, there's a USB-C charging port, which utilizes the USB-A to USB-C charging cable that is included in this package. When you actually open up the charging case itself, you will reveal the 2 transmitters and the 1 receiver. Now, both of these transmitters do utilize a plastic clip. There is no magnet, unfortunately, which is a little bit of a bummer, but it's not the end of the world because, given the price point, you can't expect too much, I guess, but maybe that's just me. The receiver here, though, is the star of the show, and before I talk about it too much, I actually want to show you guys the audio test because that's the real reason that you clicked on this video. This is how the Godox WEC-S sounds straight out of the microphone. There's no post-processing being done. I'm just gonna read this line really quick. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It's pretty much what everyone always says, but that's what I'm gonna say too. So what do you guys think? This is without noise cancellation. Now we're gonna go ahead and turn noise cancellation on. Now that we have noise cancellation on, or dynamic noise reduction as Godox calls it, let's read that line again. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So this is what it sounds like. Again, this is in a studio environment. There's no post-processing being done. This is just raw audio, technically not fully raw because it is using the dynamic noise reduction, but that's what it sounds like. It sounds pretty decent. For a relatively inexpensive microphone, the audio quality of it sounds really good in my opinion. Now that's enough talking in this boring room. Let's go ahead and actually step outside. I'm trying out this new tripod setup. Mark Bennett recommended it in one of his videos. I kind of like it. It looks pretty good, feels pretty good, but I'm trying to figure out like how to actually hold a camera, not by the lens. It's really tripping me up. I kind of like this feel, this look, but I don't know how I'm feeling about it. This is the Godox WEC-S. This is what it sounds like outside. There's some birds chirping, some cicadas or whatever they're called. Crickets, toads, I don't know, man. That's just Florida life. But this is what this sounds like outside in a normal vlogging environment. Your environment may be louder, it may be more quiet. I don't know, I don't live where you guys live, but I live in Florida where we have crazy people and you know, people fight alligators in the streets. It's weird down here, I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the dynamic noise reduction and we're gonna see how that sounds. So in addition to having the dead cat on the microphone, because it is a little windy outside, this is what the dynamic noise reduction sounds like. So wow, those bugs are getting really loud in the background behind me. If you can't hear them, it means obviously the Godox is doing its job. If you can hear them, Godox, we gotta work a little bit harder, but you know, I'm gonna see in post what this sounds like, maybe put a comment up on the screen if I actually remember to, but this is what that sounds like. I think that it's going to sound pretty good. I think it's going to do a lot to help the audio. I think obviously as I talk, you are going to be able to pick up stuff in the background, but if I just stop, yeah, maybe it'll tune it out, maybe it won't, I don't know. Anyways, let's switch hands again. Whew. Switching arms again. This lens is really heavy. This whole camera setup is heavy. I need to find something a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit wider for like this kind of video. So maybe I'm gonna look into an 11 millimeter. I'm using a 13 right now. I don't know that it's gonna be much different, but anyways, we're gonna go ahead, wrap up this outside portion, and we're gonna go inside because wrapping out doesn't work when you're trying to wrap in. I don't wrap. What am I doing? Hopping back into the studio, what are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments below because I want to hear what you guys have to think. Personally, I think Godox knocked this one out of the park just like they did with the Magic X-T1. This microphone is no exception. While this microphone doesn't have some of the features that the X-T1 does, it does have some of the features that it doesn't have, which makes it a great microphone in that capacity. I don't really know what Godox actually specializes in. This is something that I want to do a little bit more research on for myself, but when I first heard of Godox, I thought that they were simply just a lighting brand. Turns out they also make microphones, they make monitors, they make a bunch of different products, so I don't know what they actually specialize in. And if you were to tell me that they specialize in microphones, I would believe you because up until now, I don't have any doubt that that could be their specialty. Maybe it is their specialty for all I know. You know, you guys want to correct me in the comments? So be it. Now let's go ahead and dive into the features, more specifically the receiver. So I know we already talked about the Mi capability where, you know, use the Sony Mi port. But what I want to talk on, and maybe it's something you guys have noticed, if you didn't notice, you might be under a rock, this microphone is advertised as 2 separate microphones. But if you haven't seen it, there's actually 3 microphones. So we talked about it earlier, there's a third dead cat. It's not a spare because it's actually a different size. The receiver on this microphone is actually a third microphone in itself. Now, technically it doesn't have its own track. It will just play on the track of the transmitter. So if you are in stereo mode, it's just going to override one channel on each of those. If it's on mono, it'll just be on the same track as everything else. So you'll just have 3 different audio inputs. But what's really cool about this is now, if you are behind the camera and you're filming and pointing at stuff like a vlogger would, you can talk into it. This is also useful if you're in an interview, you're interviewing 2 different people and you want to prompt them with questions. Now you can easily do so from behind the camera. You don't have to turn the camera around or use some other kind of external microphone or a shotgun mic or boom mic. You can do it by literally just speaking into the back of the receiver. This is super cool. It can be turned on and off. If you don't want to use it, Me personally, I can see myself using this a lot, especially because I do other content outside of this. Now, talking about the receiver itself physically, on it, you will have a push button that will actually release it from the camera. If you just were to pull on it, you'll probably end up breaking something, and that would be a really bad day because my biggest concern would be actually breaking something on the camera rather than the microphone itself. The microphone obviously is a plastic body. It only weighs 12 grams, and on it there are a bunch of buttons and different things. Now, the receiver is filled with buttons and ports and switches, so let's talk about that a little bit. It has a USB-C output. It does not have any form of internal recording. This microphone doesn't include that at all, but if you wanted to use your laptop or smart device, you can definitely plug it in using that. Something I do want to mention is if you do want to use your phones, there are no cables included, so you will have to buy that separately. That is something that Godox does sell, and you can find that on Amazon as well. Now, when it comes to the switches, there are switches to turn off the microphone that is on the back. So if you don't want to record yourself and you just want to record the two different people, you can easily do so. There's also a switch that turns it from digital to analog. So depending on what you're using it for, will determine why you need to slide it one way or the other. For example, if you're using the Mi Shoe mount, you're going to switch it to digital. If you're using something older, then you're probably going to want to switch it to analog. I feel like that makes a lot of sense, but maybe I just need to say it out loud so someone else gets it. On the flip side, like many wireless microphones, this one also supports wireless output for monitoring. So if you do want to monitor your audio, if you're filming something big or important, you can easily do so. Additionally, there is an on and off button, which it would be weird if it didn't have it. There's a pairing button. These microphones do come out of the box directly paired, so you don't technically have to pair them, but in the event that you have to buy a replacement, or for some reason they do disconnect, you can easily reconnect them with ease. The last button on this is obviously the mono stereo button, so you just press this to go into stereo mode, press it again, you're back into audio. There's no safety track, but it's honestly not needed at this price point. The transmitters themselves look visually similar to the receiver, minus on the backside they don't actually have the Hotshoe mount. Instead, it is just a little clip. There is no magnetic mount, which is a little disappointing to see, but it's not the end of the world, I guess. I can use the clip. I mean, it goes on just as easily. So yeah, that's it. Now it's on, super easy to go. These microphones are 16-bit. I wish that they were at least 24-bit, but given the price point, they'll have to suffice. I know that other microphones in this price point are 24 or even 32-bit, or maybe not 32-bit, but definitely 24-bit, but they don't have the same features that this microphone does. Another thing that is worth mentioning is there are only two buttons on the microphone itself. One of the buttons obviously is an on and off button. The other button is for dynamic noise reduction, as we showcased earlier in the audio portion. And yes, these are rated for 200 meters or 650 feet. In American terms, that is one end of the football field to the other end. So field goal to field goal, if that makes more sense for y'all. Unlike other microphones in this market, Godox actually uses a dynamic function for their noise cancellation. So similar to DJI, which also uses similar technology, it's not the exact same. This does work in the sense that when your environment is crazy loud, it will accommodate for that, and when it's not as loud, it will also accommodate for that. So unlike normal situations where you just turn it on and off, this one will adapt to your environment. Now, if the environment is crazy loud, you will lose some of your audio quality, which is to be expected. If these were 24 or 32-bit, you wouldn't lose as much, but given that they are 16-bit, you are going to sacrifice something. The battery life on these things is actually really impressive. They are rated for 8 hours each, so the transmitters individually are rated for 8 hours each, and then the receiver another 8 hours, so technically you can get 8 hours out of everything before they need to be recharged. Then the case itself is rated for 24 hours, meaning that you can get 3 full recharges out of this before you actually have to recharge the case itself. In a real world scenario, this works out great, but I don't know anyone that's going to be filming for 24 hours nonstop, and if you are, you probably need to ask for a raise. Seriously, if you are filming for 24 hours, call for backup, do whatever you gotta do, but that is not healthy. Nobody needs to be up for 24 hours straight filming. Overall, I really like this microphone. I think that Godox clearly makes good stuff, and again, I don't really know what they do. I thought that they were just into lights and other things, but apparently they're in the microphones as well, and they're really good at that. And this is not a hype video. You know, as I said, they're not paying me to say any of this. I just really like their products. I actually use the Magic X-T1 on a daily basis for work and whatnot. And now that I have this one, I'm probably gonna put it into my roster because I like this one just as much, if not better in some ways, because it works really well with my A6700. Now, if you don't have a Sony camera, you can probably just get away with using the normal WEC-S model, which doesn't have the Sony Mi capability. It's a little bit cheaper. I wanna say it's like $89 or $99. This microphone is really good. I love the fact that it works directly with Sony cameras. I like how cheap it is. I like how light these are. These things, if I didn't mention them already, they only weigh 12 grams. You don't really notice them on your shirt. Now, there are other microphones like the Hollyland Lark M2, which weighs, you know, a few grams less. I want to say it's like 9 grams for the Lark M2 transmitter, and that just, you know, magnets to your shirt. I don't notice those either, but I definitely don't notice this, other than the fact that it does poke me in my neck, which is probably my only real complaint. The 16-bit versus 24-bit versus 32-bit argument, it's not really relevant here, because if you want better quality microphones, then obviously you're going to buy better quality microphones. This one obviously is going to be more budget oriented, and it's going to offer so many features for a budget like this one does. If you guys do want to pick one of these up for yourselves, the WEC-S Kit 2 is a great microphone. I really hope I didn't screw it up that time, because I don't think I did. I think I actually said it right for once. But if you guys do want to pick this up, I've linked it below in my description. Honestly, if you guys want to see this microphone compared to other microphones, then tell me below, because I really want to hear y'all's thoughts. Be sure to like the video. If there's anything that you want to see, let me know. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.